5 tips that have helped me finish my sketchbooks way more consistently. Finishing the last page of a sketchbook always feels like a huge accomplishment, and it is so satisfying. But sometimes that's hard to do. So these are 5 tips that have helped me finish my sketchbooks way more consistently. Tip number 1. Stop buying new sketchbooks. I watched a lot of sketchbook tip videos in preparation for making this video, and this is one tip that I did not see anyone talk about. That is to stop buying new sketchbooks. And here's what I mean. The pile of new sketchbooks or even half-used sketchbooks that you have in your closet or on your bookshelf is causing you more stress and more pressure when it comes to drawing in a sketchbook and having a consistent practice than I think you probably realize. And the reason why I'm saying that is because that was true for me. I used to be someone who would buy a cool sketchbook or a cute sketchbook anytime I came across one. I always felt like I'll fill it eventually, so I might as well buy this. And then you come home and you put it with the rest of the sketchbooks that you bought in that exact same scenario that are also empty or have 2 or 3 pages filled. And that pile of unused sketchbooks caused me to feel like filling a sketchbook was a chore and like a daunting mountain of work that I was never going to summit. A little while ago, I implemented a new rule where I don't buy a new sketchbook until the sketchbook that I'm currently working in is finished. And I know that seems a little bit harsh, but it has worked so well for me. I am only working in the sketchbook that I currently have. I don't have any blank ones sitting on my shelf waiting for me to fill as soon as I finish this one. And the bonus hidden silver lining of this is that when you do finish a sketchbook, not only do you get the satisfaction of knowing you finished one, but then, for me at least, as soon as I finish one, I get to go shopping for a new one, which is so exciting. It feels like a reward. It feels like a treat or a prize for finishing the sketchbook in the first place. And then I get to pick out whatever I want and work in that one next. If you are someone who's trying to buy less this year, I know that's been a really popular thing for this year, or if you're someone who has always struggled with filling sketchbooks and doesn't like the feeling that you get knowing that you have tons of blank ones sitting at home, maybe try not buying anymore, or just donate all the empty ones that you have to the thrift store, get them out of your house, buy one, and only work on finishing that, and don't allow yourself to buy any more until you finish it. Tip number 2, use a medium that you don't normally use to surprise yourself. If you create art consistently, sometimes you can get stuck in a rut reaching for the same tools that you always use over and over again. I know I fall into that trap a lot. And I don't know about you, but doing the same thing over and over again gets really stale. And when things get stale, creativity stops flowing. So something that has helped me jumpstart my creativity when I'm working in my sketchbook and get ideas flowing and honestly make the whole experience a lot more fun is to use mediums that I don't normally use. So for instance, I don't use markers a lot. I'm not very good with them. I don't understand the techniques of how to make them work. However, markers are a lot of fun. And so sometimes in my sketchbook, I'll pull out some markers and just doodle away. A lot of times though, when I choose to use a medium that's not my norm, I end up coming away from whatever it is that I drew on that page feeling more excited and feeling better about the overall experience. Not because it necessarily looks better, but because I really enjoyed what I was doing and I was very creative and very free with it. And the goal wasn't necessarily the end result. The goal was just the act of creating, the act of actually drawing or painting. And I think that's what a new medium can do for you. It can open up your creativity and allow you to be more curious and more experimental because you're not trying to be quote unquote a professional. You're not trying to like stick within these rules or this certain formula that you've created for yourself. You're just seeing whatever happens. Tip number 3, if you are frustrated or stuck, just flip to a new page. This tip needs to be taken with a grain of salt. There are some instances where it is not a good idea. However, I have figured out a lot of the time when I'm working in my sketchbook and I'm frustrated or I'm annoyed with what I'm drawing because it's not turning out the way that I want, sometimes just letting it go and flipping to the new page is so freeing and so helpful, because it's like, oh, I can just set that down and keep going. It doesn't need to be finished in order for me to move on to the next page. I can leave this undone, leave it in the frustrated, annoying state that it's in, and move on. Now, the caveat to this is that if you are using your sketchbook to practice something, let's say you're trying to get better at drawing hands, you probably need to sit in being frustrated and uncomfortable with how your drawings are turning out and not move on to the next page, if that makes sense. If you're using your sketchbook in that particular moment to practice, to grow, to get better at a certain technique, you probably need to sit in the uncomfortable feeling of, I don't like this. However, if you're just doodling, if you're trying to just get ideas to flow, if you're just like wandering through the page and you're getting annoyed, just flip to a new page. It doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be finished. It doesn't need to be perfect. My sketchbooks are ugly. There are so many ugly pages in them, and I think that's what they're meant to be. I think sketchbooks are for experimenting. They're for taking risks. They're for trying new things. They are not for looking pretty to post on Instagram. Tip number 4, write notes or stories in your sketchbook and annotate your own work. This is something I used to do a lot a few years ago, and then I kind of just forgot about it. Like, I haven't done it in a while, and when I was planning this video and thinking about what I wanted to share, this idea came to my mind, and I was like, oh, that was so beneficial to what I was creating in my sketchbook, and I don't know why I ever stopped doing it. And so I did. I took some time to go down to a cafe and work in my sketchbook and annotate my work with some thoughts. This tip kind of takes on 2 different forms. So if you're taking notes, sometimes that's more technical stuff. So if you're planning a big project or trying to plan just a singular piece and you want to get more technical about it, sometimes it just looks like notes on this figure should be bigger, or I want this character's clothes to be pink, or I want this to look this way, or I'm not sure if I like the way this turned out. What if I tried this next time? Sometimes that's what I mean by take notes in your sketchbook, because you don't have the time to draw exactly what you're thinking, so just writing a quick note down next to what you already drew is really helpful. The other side of what I'm talking about is using a sketchbook a little bit like a journal, a little bit like you're writing poems, you're writing words, you're kind of connecting what you're drawing with what you're thinking or experiencing or feeling. I think the easiest way to start doing this is to start by just adding song lyrics to what you're drawing. And I know that's not the same thing as journaling your own thoughts or writing down your own ideas, but sometimes this concept is a little bit hard to jump into. I used to do this all the time. I would doodle any and every song lyric that was stuck in my head along with whatever I was drawing. And it was a lot of fun. Also, it's kind of like walking down memory lane. Like, I'll look at old sketchbooks and I'm like, I can't believe I had that one particular song stuck in my head for so long. It's not even that good of a song. So that's a good way to get started with this. And then once you do that for a while, it becomes easier to kind of write your own thoughts and your own ideas down. Tip number 5, the last tip, and that is to take your sketchbook with you everywhere. This is a common tip. I'm sure you've heard it before. I'm sure people have talked about it in other videos, and there is a really good reason for that. One, proximity means that you'll use it more often. Think about your own phone. The fact that your phone is almost always on your person means it's easy to grab, it's easy for you to scroll and use all the time. Think about your sketchbook in the same way. The more you have it with you, the more you'll use it. The second thing is that different surroundings can fuel your creativity. So if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling like you're in a rut and you need something to kind of kickstart whatever it is that you're doing in your sketchbook, just moving to a different space, even if it's just going outside of your house, like you're just in your backyard or something, that alone can be really helpful in kickstarting your creativity and getting you to just draw what's around you. Now, when I say take your sketchbook with you everywhere, I do quite literally mean everywhere. Some of the most ridiculous places that I've brought my sketchbook are grocery shopping. Why, I don't know. I've brought it to a hockey game. That's crazy. I didn't actually do it, but I thought about bringing my sketchbook with me to the movies, okay? I think that's the kind of habit that you should build if you want to become someone who sketches all the time and very often, is you should just instinctually want to bring your sketchbook with you everywhere. When you go on vacation, when you go on coffee dates, when you go out running errands, when you're working, your sketchbook should always be near you. Something that can help to establish this habit is to create an art go bag. This is just a bag of some basic simple supplies that you can keep all together. Maybe you can keep it by your door or keep it on your desk so that whenever it's time to go and you're running out the door, you can grab your sketchbook, toss it in, take the bag, and go. This is what I keep in my art go bag. Now, the bag can be whatever you want. I just happen to use tote bags, whichever one's lying around at the time. Obviously, the bag needs to be big enough to hold your sketchbook. I've seen lots of people use the miniature Trader Joe's totes for an art go bag, which I think is such a great idea. That's so cute. But the first item is your sketchbook. And the second item is a little pencil pouch. In my pencil pouch, I like to keep a little Winsor & Newton Cotman watercolor kit. I talk about why I love these so much in the art supplies video that I made. So if you want to hear more about them, you can go watch that video. But I always keep one of these in there. It's pretty easy because I have 3 of them. I will have some sort of pencil sharpener and eraser in the bag every time. This happens to be my very favorite. Sometimes I have a lesser one. And then sometimes I'll have like a regular eraser. This is a kneadable one. The next thing that I always have in my art go bag is a black pen. Probably a Pilot 0.38 ink pen. I have a million of these. I think I bought like a bulk pack on Amazon 2 years ago, and they are all over my house in every single bag that I own. Always, 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 always have this pen. I usually have some form of a pencil, usually at least one. I'll have a mechanical pencil or a regular pencil. In this particular instance, I have a 3H and a 6B pencil, which is pretty nice to have a hard and a soft pencil, but usually I'll just have one pencil of some kind. The next thing that I always have in my art go bag are these Tombow dual brush pens. I never use markers in my regular work, like when I'm doing a finished formal piece, I'm not using markers. However, I have a handful of these markers and I really love using them. They're just a lot of fun to play with because they have the brush tip and then like a fine tip on the other end. And I don't really have any use for them except for in my go bag. And then when I'm doodling, if I'm in a scenario where I don't have a lot of space around me, or if I need to be very quick, like let's say I'm at the airport and I'm sitting in a chair and there's people all around me and they're gonna call the group that I need to board with really soon, pulling out my sketchbook and pulling out a singular marker is really easy and really streamlined. It's super quick to clean up. It doesn't take up a lot of space. So that's an instance where I'll use these a lot, but I'll also use them like even if I have a ton of space. And then the other thing that's not always in my art bag is colored pencils. There's just an assortment. There's more in here. I keep my colored pencils in a like organized shelf thing on my desk, and all of them are there. They're all together because I don't have a giant collection of them. And so usually if I'm grabbing my art bag, I will toss my sketchbook in, and then I will grab a few colored pencils from each color section and toss them in as well. When I first started doing this, something that frustrated me was I was like, oh, what if I'm drawing and I want a specific shade of orange or a specific shade of green and I don't have that colored pencil? I didn't grab it. But something that I've realized and kind of come to accept is that the fun of having an art go bag and the fun of drawing with what you have and making do with whatever you happen to have around you is that sometimes you will discover unexpected things in what you're working on by using something that you wouldn't normally use. So if I'm working on like a plant or something and I want a specific shade of green, but all I have is this neon one, I'm like, well, I'm just gonna use the neon one and that's fine. Sometimes it turns out ugly, and sometimes I wish I had the original color I was hoping for, but a lot of times I'm pleasantly surprised by using a color that I never would have reached for originally. And that's kind of the point of the like experimental side of sketchbooking, is that you're trying things you wouldn't normally try, and by doing so, you're discovering new things about your art, you're discovering new ways to be creative. So that's kind of what I do with the colored pencils. I always have a different group of them in my bag. No two art go bag situations are the same. And that's kind of it. That's everything that I keep in an art go bag. It's pretty simple, pretty lightweight. That's it. Those are my 5 tips to help you fill your sketchbook a little bit easier. Those are the things that I've learned in the short amount of time that I've been practicing working in my sketchbook on a regular basis. I hope you found them helpful, and thank you so much for being here. There's not enough ice in this drink. I want you guys to know this is the 3rd time I'm filming this video. Both times that I filmed before this were sabotage because of nature.